What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also host the only online show in the world that is for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And through that collaboration, I've been able to reach out directly or indirectly to over 75,000 fathers in this year, 2021. I'm very grateful with that. I also am the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, which is a multimedia not-for-profit that amplifies Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, drink, and travel. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Broadcasting on, is it October 31st, Halloween. It seems a lot of people are into Halloween this year. I'm not, but I think just the opportunity for people to get outside over after the last, 15, 16 months, some of us haven't had a chance to get out a lot. So I can understand that. But today, Sunday afternoon, like we do on most Sunday afternoons around 5 p.m. Eastern time, we do Black Canada Talking. It's a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that are of importance to them. And also we showcase Black Canadians that we feel you should know about. And there is another one today. And this gentleman, I got a pop quiz coming for him, but today we're going to be having Doug Minter on the line. He's experienced professional in business development, operational leadership, innovation, and strategy, and with a demonstrated history on working in the nonprofit organization management within the Chamber of Commerce industry for over 13 years, both in the USA and Canada. He's a strong sales professional skilled in nonprofit organizations, negotiation, government procurement, budgeting, and business planning. He served for 6 years in the United States Marine Corps, Desert Storm veteran, as a combat engineer, as well as 3 years with the US Forestry Department as an initial attached firefighter. His time as a serial entrepreneur, combined with his public service, has prepared him as a leader during turbulent times and change. He owned the largest Black-owned independent insurance agency in the state of Tennessee, which he sold in 2008 prior to entering the Chamber of Commerce profession. As a serial entrepreneur, he also started one of the first valet parking firms in East Tennessee. As a Chamber of Commerce executive, he served as the chair of the diversity division of the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives for 5 years. Recently, he's adopted his skill sets to focus on ecosystem development and entrepreneurial programming as the founder of the Propel Mentor Protege program and the Propel Mastermind program, which I'm very humbled to be part of. He has been able to counsel over 1,500 entrepreneurs and create over $100 million in economic development and over 1,000 jobs. At this time, he's a management consultant for the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce and is the chair of the Entrepreneur Subcommittee for the Mentorship and Sponsorship Committee for the Black North Initiative. So this is someone you need to know about. This is why I'm bringing him on the digital stage right now, right here. Mr. Doug Minter, what's going on?
Hey, Dr. Vibe, good to see you today, sir.
Right back at you. We talk so much, but we don't talk on screen one-on-one that often. So I'm looking forward to this possibility and this opportunity. But I've got a pop quiz for you. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Where did and when did we first meet? I have you on this one. I think you may know where. You may not know the date.
We probably met at the launch of the chamber, probably.
You are right on.
In April.
You right? Not you're man. You got
2019.
You know the date? Remember the date?
April the 4th, 5th?
No, but close. April 30th.
April 30th. Okay.
April 30th. And that is where the first time I met Mr. Doug Minter. Okay. And we jammed right from there. And I've been blessed to get knowledge from him and I hope I've given a little bit of knowledge on the side about this. And I'm very humbled to have him here. And people who are watching this live on the replay, this is a Black American who feels Canada is full of Black opportunity for Blacks. Let me just repeat that. A Black American who's come up here and sees a wealth of opportunity for Black Canadians. I'll just let that simmer. Doug, read your profile. Can you give a little bit more background? That was a professional background, where you grew up, family, etc., and then we'll slide in some more.
Yeah, so I grew up in East Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee, and Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So I was born in Knoxville, and then my parents moved to Oak Ridge. Now, Oak Ridge may not mean anything to anyone. It's just a small community of about 100,000 people, less than 100,000 people. But Oak Ridge was the site of one of the Manhattan Project sites. So when you think about the inside of an atomic bomb, all of that science was created in this small little town called Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So, yeah, it's a scientific community, really neat place.
Very nice. Education, going to school, growing up, how did that go in your relationship with your parents?
My relationship with my parents was good. It was strict. My dad worked for the Department of Energy, so he worked at one of the lab installations there when he was 19 years old. So as soon as I was born, he went to work for the Department of Energy in the US, and my mom was an English and music teacher.
Wonderful. And what have they instilled in you that you still carry on today?
I think that, a couple of things. One was just being tenacious, and having a love of Black history. My dad was pretty tough. He said, look, any assignment you have at school, if there's any way for you to do that assignment on a Black person or a topic of Black history on us, he said, that's what I want you to do.
Fabulous.
If you write a poem, you got to write it about Black folk. If you have to do a book report, you need to do it about somebody Black. So, because he knew, I lived in an area that's 92% white. So that was his way of trying to force me to look for my own history and have a love to look through my own history. Sometimes I did it, sometimes I didn't. But when I look today, I am a huge history buff, love Black history, and there's a lot of things that fascinate me about history throughout the whole African diaspora. So that's probably the one thing that stuck.
Well, that's a good thing. Out of all the things that could have stuck, that's a really good thing. Yeah. You are very passionate about business. Where did that love for business, where did that journey start, and how did it come to fruition?
Yeah, I didn't grow up having a love for entrepreneurship. I had a paper route. I loved business, but I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. I think what I loved was connecting people. And business gave me the best platform you can ever have of connecting people and pulling people together. I was talking to one of my really good friends that's known me a long time. He said, man, you're a hub. You're just a hub. And I was like, that's a weird thing to say about somebody, but I love connecting people. And I think business gave me a way to connect people and make money at it. Nice.
Where did you get why did you want to get involved so much in Chamber of Commerce industry? And maybe for our viewers and listeners, can you explain what a Chamber of Commerce is? Because a lot of people, they hear it, but they don't really know what it does and how effective it can be.
So chambers of commerce, kind of interesting. In the US, we use the term Chamber of Commerce, and here in Canada, you'll see Chamber of Commerce and sometimes you'll see Board of Trade. Board of Trade is very much a maritime British term. And actually, most of the chambers in the US were called boards of trade, if you go back and look at their history. But a chamber of commerce is simply put a business, it's the hub of business activity. It's a business membership organization who strives to promote business within whatever city, region that particular chamber of commerce or board of trade may be. A lot of times the city governments would assign economic development activities to those chambers and lean on those chambers and those organizations to be the voice of the business community. And so they would have this place that all the business activity took place. It would be the place that you would go to, get a stamp or anything that you needed to do in business. The chambers of commerce were the place where you did those transactions. And over the course and period of time, they've now become membership organizations. You'll see chambers of commerce that have a couple of arms to them. You may have a chamber of commerce that also is the tourism department for that particular geographic region, or it's a chamber that also does economic development, which means they're recruiting companies to come to that city to provide jobs. So they're out there doing the blocking and tackling to go recruit companies. You'll see chambers of commerce sometimes get into sports and media. So they're the sports kind of, they deal with the athletic teams that come to town, and they're promoting those kind of events. And then sometimes you just see a chamber of commerce. They're just a membership organization, and they want to connect their members to the broader community and grow business that way.
Great. Two-part conversation piece here. Some of your business background, I think, would be very valuable to our listeners and viewers. And then how did you get involved with the Chamber of Commerce, especially in Knoxville, which you were part of for many years? So first question would be some of your business journey, entrepreneur journey that I read, if you want to expand on, or maybe some things that you left out in your bio would be great to hear.
Yeah. So my first real stint at entrepreneurship happened after Desert Storm. So I'd been in the military in the United States Marine Corps. And after I left the Marine Corps, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Right. I was finishing up college and a little bit just kind of searching for what is it that I'm going to do. And having to take a year off of your life to go fight in a war and then come back, the world was different. I was different. And so had an opportunity to partner with a guy to start valet parking in my city. I was intrigued by it. And we grew that to 60 employees. It was just he was working at a restaurant. I didn't have a job at the time. And so he and I just hustled, and then we grew that thing pretty fast in 3 years. And then, I also learned my first business failure, right? I learned the failure of having bad partnerships. And I know I counsel people now, and I say, you need to find a good partner to help you grow this company. They're like, I don't want to go into a partnership because they turn out terrible. And a lot of times they do, but sometimes it's necessary, right? But it was a great experience for me to learn. I learned the good and the bad of having a partner. And I decided to lead that partnership, right? But it was a wonderful learning experience. I met some amazing people, and I learned that I had a skill at dealing with large groups of people as employees.
Right.
So that was something that taught me, okay, I can grow a company. I can grow a company, and I can manage employees, and I can do these things. And then I talked to my uncle, and his insurance agency was struggling. He had some health concerns. And so I went to work with him and then bought the agency some 10 years later. went to work for him in 1996, bought the agency in 2005 and tripled the growth, and then sold it in 2008.
Wow.
I was concerned about the recession, the Great Recession, and I couldn't see my way on the other end of that.
Right.
So sold the agency in 2008, still running. Sold it to, actually one of my ex-employees at the insurance agency. So
Okay.
it was a really good deal for me and my family. And, I didn't feel like tussling with, 15 employees, 1.5 million in debt. Didn't
No.
think I could make it on the other side of that recession.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Great. Then how did you get? Actually, let me put a stop. I want to take a detour just for a moment.
Sure.
First of all, thank you for your service in Desert Storm. And then second of all, how has that time in Desert Storm impacted you as a Black man and also as a Black businessman?
I think, surviving combat is put some muscle on you. I think that helps you to be resilient. Because there's nothing that I've faced in business that's worse than going to war.
Yeah, I think so.
You
Yeah.
know, it gives you some muscle, I think. It also gives you some humility. I think it makes you more empathetic, more sensitive to people. Um, I think it allowed me to care more, which is a weird thing. A lot
Mhm.
of soldiers may not say that, but it allowed me to care more and be more empathetic because of what I saw.
Okay.
And I owe a lot of I owe so much to not only my fellow brothers in arms, but I also owe a lot to the Kuwaiti people. They were amazing people, and uh, yeah, I'll leave it
Uh,
there.
yeah, I can understand. I know there's another story to be told. I don't think we got
Yeah,
time for it today, but I look forward to hearing that sometime, especially maybe offline. I want to hear that.
yeah.
How did you then get your first exposure to a chamber of commerce?
Yeah, so I was in um, before I had sold the agency, I was involved in Leadership Knoxville, which is a leadership organization. And I was in one of their cohorts for the year, and we had to do a project with another nonprofit. And I chose they had a list of people who said, yeah, we'll do projects with people. And the Knoxville Chamber was one of the people on that list, and I was brought into their economic development department to do a project. Um, and I was blown away. I was fascinated because a lot of times most people don't understand when you talk about Amazon moving to town, right? Or XYZ company. Google is putting a factory up, or someone is putting a business up. Economic development agencies are the ones that are doing the blocking and tackling on making that happen, right? And the process was so fascinating. They brought me in on actually bringing Keurig, who makes the K cups, right? So
Yes,
Keurig
yes.
was coming to East Tennessee, building a huge factory, and I was brought in to help on that team. And I said, you know what? I love this. Like, I love the atmosphere of this.
Yeah.
And I wrote a proposal, and rest is history.
Wow. Wow. What were some of the successes or some of the wins that you celebrated during your time on the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce?
I think the biggest thing was seeing the first two people. I established a mentor protege program, entrepreneur program. That was the big reason why I came to the chamber, because they said, "Hey, we like this idea. Let's make it happen." And when I look back, some 13 years later, the biggest success was seeing two of uh, the people graduate from the program. One, a veteran. Um, of the Navy. So, I cared about veterans. I wanted to have a program that incentivized veterans and give them something to do because I knew how lost I was after combat.
Makes sense.
And I really wanted to make sure that program was open to veterans. And then another gentleman who was African American became millionaires. So to see
Wow.
those two guys, start at zero, both of them came into my office crying, not knowing what to do. We're in terrible situations, but they wanted to build these businesses, and both of them are highly successful, great leaders in the community, and running multi-million-dollar companies. And that's the thing that made me feel best is the output of the people.
How did that time in the chamber amplify your business skills?
It forced me to see a lot of people, right? So I think what it did is it opened my eyes to all of the different things that entrepreneurs go through. It's one thing to go through entrepreneurship in one industry, but I got to see hundreds and hundreds of people expressing their entrepreneurial dreams in various industries. There's from tech to STEM to janitorial to whatever. I mean, I saw pretty much a little bit of everything that's out there. And that is an education that I wish I could give to everybody. Just seeing seeing innovation in a variety of different industries.
Well, you're doing it in your own little small way right now, but that's another conversation piece. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and say, why did Doug come up to Canada? Because it sounded like he had a lot going on in Tennessee. We're going to find out why he came to Canada, and there's a 2-word term that he's used in regards to especially Black Canada. So you're going to find out that 2-word term when we come back on the other side. We are here, Black Canada Talking, live October 31st. We're talking with Doug Minter. We'll be right back. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here. And as always, on most Sunday afternoons at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Black Canada Talking is a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that are of importance to them.
Guinea could not afford to participate, but at the last minute came in because there's always issues of money and corruption.
That guy gets to go to jail because he doesn't have the money and he doesn't have the status that Bill Cosby gets. And Bill Cosby gets to get off, not just for the money as well, advancing age, etc.
I'm just going to echo a few things you're mentioning. We know that the Olympics, the Tokyo Committee, and also the Olympic Committee was against any protests.
God bless, peace to all, keep the faith, and remember, walk good. We are back. It's Dr. Vibe here, Black Canada Talking, broadcasting live on October 31st. And let's have back our good friend, Mr. Doug Minter. How you doing, Doug?
Good.
Good stuff, good stuff. So we left off. Doug's got it going on in Knoxville, doing this, doing that, spreading good word, empowering people, making millionaires, but he's here in Toronto. So, Doug, what brought you here to Toronto for me to meet you on April 30th, 2019? It wasn't me. I know it wasn't me. What brought you up here to Toronto, and why Toronto?
First, one word, love. So I have fell in love with a young lady from Brampton. And we've been dating for quite some time, and we had to make a decision about where we were going to live. Was she going to come to East Tennessee? Was I going to come to Canada? And we'd been visiting back and forth and looking at opportunities, and we had made an agreement early on that whichever place made the best sense for both of us, the other would be okay with that. And I was okay to move to Canada, and she was okay to move to Tennessee. And when we started kind of making plans for her to come down, it just didn't look right. And so we made a decision as a couple that, it was time to make the leap.
So did you have something to jump into when you came up here?
Well, I'd been talking with the Canadian Black Chamber, and
Okay.
the timing was great. They were, new organization trying to get started and launch their Chamber of Commerce, and so I came up here and started helping them and following the lead of Michael Forrest and his vision for having a chamber, which I thought was a great one. Definitely needed here in Canada, and there wasn't one. And I said, hey, if I can lend any kind of credence in my background to helping out, I definitely want to help the organization grow. And so the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah. When you came up here, did it catch you off guard that there was not a Black Canadian Chamber of Commerce?
A little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit. But when I looked around, I was like, wow, this is an amazing amount of human capital in the Black community. You have representation from the entire African diaspora within a neighborhood, oftentimes, right? It blew me away. And I had come up here in 2018, before we made the decision for me to come here. Some friends of ours, we rode bikes and filmed a documentary on the Underground Railroad.
Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, that was an amazing. So my good friends, Andre Block and Jonathan Williams, had been riding bikes, and they had this thing called the Unity Ride. And so they would ride. They had ridden across the country a couple of times, and then they said, hey, this next ride, we want to kind of do a theme, right? We want to try to get into history. And we talked about it and came up with the idea to follow the pathway of the Underground Railroad from New Orleans to Toronto. And so 7 of us got together. Monty Ross, who was one of the producers of the Malcolm X movie, joined us. And Nelia was my fiance. She was back home calling and setting up meetings for us in each city that we would ride to. It was an amazing, amazing project. And documentaries on Amazon, shameless plug. It's called The Unity Ride 2018. And it was just an amazing experience. And it allowed me to learn more and more about the Underground Railroad and more about Canada.
Wow. Can you remember the first day you came here permanently, and how's that feeling? And was there any sad feelings leaving Tennessee?
Yeah. So, it was definitely, it's tough when you leave home, right? Even if you know that this is the right move. I felt in my spirit it was the right thing to do. So I didn't have any regrets. My sons lived there, so they couldn't come at the time. And so that was kind of tough, leaving the family. But I came back and forth quite a bit. So, and my sons are in college. One of them's about to graduate. So, they're older, right? So it wasn't so bad. And they come up here a lot too. So
Nice.
it was tough to change, right? But I was all in. I was good with it. I was like, let's just, jump in with all feet forward.
Okay. Well, you've been here for about 2.5 years now. And there's a 2-word term that you and I talk about a lot.
Yeah.
So I could say, but it's you brought it to my attention. So I'd like you to give the term, and then we can drill down deeper why you feel so passionate about that 2-word term.
I truly believe that there's a Black Renaissance happening in Canada. I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a scientist. I'm a part-time history buff, but I truly believe, just based on when you go back in time and look at Renaissance occurrences, the Italian Renaissance, the really, if you want to go way back in the African Renaissance that we don't talk about a lot, that happened prior to the modern age. There was an African Renaissance. Um, there, and you look at the Italian Renaissance, the components of a Renaissance mean you had something and you're getting it back. So if we go back, and the reason why I say the Renaissance is relevant here in Canada is that they're saying, well, what did we have here in Canada that we're trying to get back? I said, no, you have to look a little deeper. Canada is one of the few places in the world where the entire African diaspora lives and breathes throughout the country. It's an amazing diversity that doesn't exist everywhere else. You have people here from every part of the diaspora living and breathing together in one place. I know that the diaspora is pretty strong in New York. Diaspora is pretty strong in LA. Diaspora is pretty strong in London, but it's not like Canada. It's not like Toronto. It's not like Montreal. It's not like there's just no other place that I've traveled to that looks like this. And so because the entire diaspora is there, I think about the African Renaissance in Africa. I think about the greatness of Africa, the greatness of our leaders then. And so that Renaissance, to me, we can claim because we're getting back what we lost through colonialism, transatlantic slave trade. You pick your poison, right? You can pick your sin, and we're trying to reclaim ourselves. And the human capital here, the brilliance of the people here is amazing. It truly is. And you can see one of the biggest reasons for a renaissance is patronage. And what is patrons? Patrons are the ones that are funding the growth. They're putting investments into that growth. And when you look at organizations like the BBPA, when you look at organizations like the Black North Initiative, and you look at Transet out of Montreal, and you look at all of these companies coming together to form the FACE Coalition, and you look at, there's so many examples that there's a renaissance here. And those organizations wouldn't exist if there wasn't fertile ground of human capital underneath them. When you look at the growth of the chamber, again, a lot of these organizations are just a few years old. Black North Initiative just celebrated its first year. The Canadian Black Chamber is, barely 3 years old. So there's this fertile ground for all of this new stuff, right? There's this fertile ground and demand. When the federal government decided to step in and be a patron to the Black community with the Black Loan Fund and supporting, 30 other organizations to receive $70 million plus. To me, that patronage shows you that there's a renaissance occurring, and people are making bets on that renaissance.
Thank you for detail and drilling down on that. When you share with the people you do, especially Black Canadians, about Black Renaissance, what is their initial response? Do they get it, or do they go, because I get this feeling that because we are so in it, you've brought an outside lens beyond the glimpse of the obvious. Right. Do many people agree with you, or does it take some time for those to understand? And some people still don't understand.
You know what? People seem to feel good about when I say that. They sit. I think it makes them sit back and think, "Hey, yeah, I think this is the case." I don't think people here in Canada are not seeing the beauty of themselves. I think what maybe in a way is the obstacles. Just because there's a renaissance occurring doesn't mean there's also not barriers to that renaissance. The renaissance is going to occur regardless. The issue is how many people will be able to benefit from that renaissance. Will it be just a handful of people, or will it be the masses of people? And I think that's the fear factor. I think a lot of people are like, hey, we've seen this before. We've seen people try to do this before and it didn't work. Or, the proclivities of having this beautiful diversity of all these people from the diaspora. You also have to deal with the proclivities of all these people from the diaspora.
Yes.
So it's dealing with those proclivities. And I think, a lot of times people need to see that, we have to be patient. MP Greg Fergus, love him a lot. And he said this in a meeting early on when coronavirus first hit. And he said, you know what? It's a large group of people on a Zoom call. And he said, one thing I want to ask the Black community is be patient with one another. It's hard to be patient when you've been waiting and looking and searching and you have needs, right? And so I want to add a word to that and say we need tenacious patience. We need to keep each other accountable, but we also need to realize many of the things that are being built, we're flying the plane while building it, so to speak, right? Mm-hmm. And we do have to be patient. This stuff takes time to build, right? But we can see with the 20,000 plus people have put in a profile through the Face Coalition's website for one of the business loan, for the business loan. That shows there's a pin-up demand for access to capital, which is critical to entrepreneurship. But again, I think we're in a good place. And I think if we're tenacious with one another, but patient with one another, I think we'll get there.
Excellent. What are some, and you're blessed to know a lot of really important, but no, let me tell you, great people, melanated and non-melanated. From all the conversations you have had, other than patience, do you see any potential obstacles of living and achieving to its full width this Black Renaissance? Other than patience, do you see any other potential roadblocks?
Well, again, I think, the first roadblock is just, I think we have to understand what is our axiology as a group of people, especially when we all have different homes, right? I'm from East Tennessee in the United States. That's diametrically totally different than somebody from Angola or Zimbabwe or even Brampton, right? The culture connection sometimes, we hold true to our home, our geographic home, more than we hold our Blackness together, right? Because my Blackness was created where I lived. And so I think we're going to have to practice diversity and inclusion within the Black community.
It's a very important point.
Right. We have to, but we can't just do it because we're Black. And you have to carry yourself in a certain way. You have to be an honorable person. Because Black folk, our axiology, Dr. Edwin J. Nichols is an amazing industrial and clinical psychologist, 80 years old, one of the smartest psychologists I've ever met. And he's taught me, he said, look, Doug, this unity thing can happen. We can be unified as a community. We can work well together. We can produce because we've done it before. The issue is, we don't really understand what our axiology is. So it's the pathway to unity comes from one-on-one, member-to-member relationship is the highest value to Black people, which means we may not get there as a collective rise. It may be groups of individuals who link together, common interests, learn each other, patient but tenacious with one another. And as these small groups of individual relationships become community, and it has to be built. Our infrastructure has to be built. And that's why we have to have tenacious patience, because it's just going to take time. You can't do it overnight. But I think, we should strive to build those individual relationships with one another and treat them with the utmost respect because of what our ancestors had done. I was reading the birth of the AME Church yesterday, and just reading the disputes between men and women about how to do things and what to do. But at the end of the day, they got it done. So it's okay for us to disagree with one another. It's not bad for us to disagree. But I think we have to learn how to disagree without it being cancel culture for that person or that organization. And we've got to, again, tenacious patience.
Makes sense. One of the things you said earlier is this Renaissance going to benefit a few or benefit the mass? What are some things that could be put in place to get it beneficial to the masses? Have you thought that through yet? Or do you have some ideas, even rough ideas, on how we can make this Renaissance beneficial for as many Black Canadians as possible?
Yeah, I think, and again, a lot of what I said about the Renaissance was relative to entrepreneurship, right?
Yep.
So if we just pick out that particular piece, I think entrepreneurship allows a faster way to get to quality of life than a lot of the other things that we have to work on. We've got to work on education. We've got to work on, a ton of the criminal justice system. There's so many things that we have to work on. But entrepreneurship is one of the fastest ways to change an individual's quality of life. The more people that have a better quality of life, then the better they are as a parent, the better they are as a citizen, the better the better the opportunity for them to invest in other things that we need as a community. I spoke to billionaire Jim Clayton, who had the largest mobile home business in the United States. It was recently purchased by Berkshire Hathaway.
Nice.
And he bought a bank with that money. And I was one of his clients, and he said to me, we had these same questions in Tennessee. And he said to me, the one way that the Black community can grow is you've got to create more millionaires. And I totally agree with him. If you don't have Black millionaires, then you don't have people within your community that can be a patron of the Renaissance, right? So you need those patrons within the community, and you need those patrons outside the community investing in the community. But if you've got those millionaires, then you've got the people like a Denham Jolly, like a West Hall. Look at the things that they're doing. They're making significant investments in the community, but you need more of them. You need more of those millionaires, and the fastest way to become a millionaire is through entrepreneurship. So I think that's the pathway of choice that I want to spend my time and energy on. I think the other piece is leadership. We have to be able to get our best and brightest leaders to weigh in on, developing the next leaders. And I think the youth piece is the other pathway that we have to focus on, but we have to do so in a way that's relevant to them.
Great. Good comment here from Tim Frey, who was on my show, The Morning Vibe, on Friday, saying, I agree with Doug. We need more Black think tanks to do R&D on every sector in our community and focus how we can develop more entrepreneurs from each sector. Fully agree on that point.
Absolutely. Nice. And there's a gentleman here that created the Black Manifesto for the community, right? And you have to have these frameworks I look forward to seeing more collaborations between our organizations and between um, uh, our thought leaders, right? When I read the Black Manifesto, Ryan Knight is one of the big supporters of that. And with ACBN, I love the work that he's doing on that. And this Black Manifesto talks about every facet of the Black community. I think it took them 10 years to put that together. I think that those kind of documents are critical. I think Leadership Institute would be the second piece that's something that's kind of near and dear to my heart, where we can go and get the governance training that we need. Because to build the ecosystem, it has to be one where the ecosystem has the same benefits and outcomes as the Western ecosystems, but with our cultural needs and desires built the way we operate.
Yes.
Right. So there's some pieces to our ecosystem that may or may not exist in other ecosystems because we're different. And so we need to be able to build that ecosystem that supports all this stuff that we're trying to get to. But I'm talking too much, but I'm going to go
No,
back.
no, not at all. Not at all.
Entrepreneurship is the key, the fastest way to change quality of life for the most people. So when I see those 20,000 plus people that applied through the FACE Coalition, that I know there's been a lot of complaints about the speed and, when are we getting the loans and when is this happening? And, I don't have the answers to those questions. But when I see 20,000 people stand up and say, I want to be an entrepreneur, that makes me happy. And so that means we need to be doubling down on all the resources that we can put together, we can muster to support those 20,000 people who are risk takers.
Yeah. Think about it. Of those 20,000, say even 25% become successful entrepreneurs. How much of a change would that make to the future of Black Canada?
It's huge. It's huge because you don't know who's going to be the unicorn, right? You don't know who's going to be the next $1 billion app or the next idea that everybody in the world wants. And once you have those unicorns, that's what feeds the ecosystem. The owners of, when you look at Elon Musk, when you look at all of the owners of the past, from successful companies, big time companies, guess what they do? They take a big portion of their profits, invest it back into the ecosystem because they understand they can't continue to grow without other people innovating underneath them. So it's really about finding and supporting entrepreneurship at the highest level and doubling down on that. And I think we can change quality of life because then you'll have people who have a heart for leadership and they want to invest there. They have a heart for our youth and they want to invest there. They have a heart for veterans and want to invest there. They have a heart for, changing the criminal justice system and supporting people with, that need a second chance. And so, you want as many millionaires as you can possibly get within the diversity of our people because they're going to invest in a diversity of things.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, with a few moments we do have left, you have helped communicate with thousands of entrepreneurs. Thousands. From your lens, what are some I'll get Tim's comment up before I ask my question. 1.21 million businesses in Canada, and less than 25,000 are registered Black-owned businesses. Every one of those 20,000 applicants for FACE loans are needed. Absolutely.
And that's a big number of people. And if you could take 20,000 companies and grow them just to $100,000.
Wow.
The numbers start multiplying. And then let's say you take half of those 20,000 10,000 and say, we could say, you know what, we want to make sure that at least half of this number gets to their first million. The numbers start adding up. You start changing community and quality of life with the increase in revenues. Nice. Because then those are increasing jobs, which increases quality of life for everyone else. Increasing these people's quality of life, then they can invest in our art and culture and our artists. And, you know, we have a ton of creatives and artists in this community. And, you know, you don't even have to mention Drake or The Weeknd or some of these other artists to know that Canada is a really amazing place as far as creativity. It's probably one of the most innovative places that's this small, but it's affected the entire world. We have to double down on those artists and creatives as well, who are kind of being left out because of coronavirus has really hit that industry really hard. We've got to invest in our youth. We've got to invest in our creative class. It's part of the Renaissance. Art, culture were the first things that Italy invested in to get everyone else involved. Fashion, all of that. We've got to double down on all of that.
Yeah, because if we double down, we get the right results. It's not only it's going to change the Black Canadian family, and it also will start legacy and also sustainability,
right,
which is missing in a lot of. Yeah, Tim Frey saying Black content creators have definitely been left behind. Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Totally agree with that. And the thing is, we have to do it though. We have to figure out. You know, we can't point the finger at. You know, we understand systemic racism has been here, right? We understand the barriers and the proclivities of living in a Western culture. We have PhDs in that. I want us to focus on what are we doing interpersonally in our relationships that are getting in the way of the progress of the community. And we have to do that at a relationship level, which means every single individual relationship I have within the Black community, I need to treat with the utmost respect. I need to treat you as myself within my community. And if we focus there, then we create the strength that we need to keep everyone else that's outside the community accountable to their proclivities, but also be attractive to people who want to come in and want to ally with the Black community. So it's a lot, but we can do it.
Yeah. Well,
I had someone ask me this question. Said, every day that you wake up and every day that you go to sleep, and you would have to report out to Harriet Tubman what you did that day, would she be okay with what you were doing? Would she be okay with your complaints? Would she be okay with how you navigated whatever the situations were? And think about what she went through. Think about what our elders went through. Would they be okay with how you are navigating things today? And so for me, that's what keeps me accountable.
Got it.
Spend a lot of time complaining. She's spending a lot of time doing.
Yeah. Agreed. One last conversation piece before we let you go. As I said before, you have spoken, shared, mentored lots and lots of entrepreneurs. What are some calls to action or suggestions you have for the Black entrepreneurs out here in Canada? You've heard a lot of them. You've seen a lot of them. What sort of calls to action or words or encouragement can you give to them?
The biggest thing I would say is one, I think Canada has a cadre of human capital that is unrivaled in the world. The level of human capital here, the level of sophistication, the level of drive is amazing. And I don't think Canadians get to see that of themselves as much as they should. And I'm here to tell them and be a cheerleader that this is an amazing place with some amazing Black folk. Truly. The thing that I will tell you is to be teachable and coachable.
Mm-hmm.
If you're teachable and coachable and you can suspend your ego, you're self-aware of your own proclivities, then that's the first step. If you're teachable and coachable and humble, you're able to take the criticism, you're able to take advice from folks, their opinions, and not take that as a knock against you, but that as a love for a step up. If you can take criticism as a love to step up, then you're in great shape.
I'm not going to add anything after that. I was going to add on something that enough said, case closed, mic drop, bam. Doug, thank you for taking time to share with our community today, and I have a feeling you'll be on again. If I don't know, I was going to ask if people are you comfortable for people reaching out to you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm just going to give your email address to our producer, and he's going to put it up on the screen.
Absolutely.
And like to say thank you for everything you have done, are doing, and will be doing. I think some of that stuff, well, some of the stuff you and I are doing together right now. So, and more to come, because again, we don't do it for us, we do it through us.
Yeah, you know, if you see a turtle on a fence post, they didn't get there by themselves.
Exactly.
You know, everything that any success I've had is just because of the team and the people around me, and you know, it's not fun if you don't have other people with you. So, you know, the teamwork makes the dream work. That's where it's at.
Thank you, Doug. Say hello to the right. Yeah, thank you, Dan. Say hello to the partner and your wonderful family. And I think we'll be talking some more a little bit later.
I look forward to it, man.
Be well.
Thank you for being you, Dr. Vibe. Thank you for
humble
the platform that you give this community. It's so needed. We need the Black media big time, and thank you for doing it.
My pleasure. Have a great one.
All right. Take care.
Good stuff. Doug Minter. That was good stuff, folks. And yeah, if the producer can put up his email address again, just quickly for those who didn't get it, would really appreciate it. dminter@canadianblackchamber.ca. That's where you can get in touch with him. I'd like to say thank you for everyone who took time to watch this live or on replay or listen to it on replay. Thanks to Tim Frey for his comments. Appreciated, not taken for granted. I am Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I host the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central. And I am the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases and amplifies Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, drink, and travel. As always, I like to end off my conversations like this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace. Next Sunday, our roundtable is back, our bi-weekly roundtable. Scheduled guests as always, Elle Jones, Cesar Nadima Musa, Sarah Youngo, and Warren Clark, if he can make it. And if not, we'll probably have one or two other special guests. If you are so comfortable, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook and or YouTube so you'll get notified on when my next Epic Conversations are happening. Thanks to BIA Media. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith and walk good.